welcome to the Playgasm podcast. Today is July 8th, 2007. I am Nick Maselli, and with me today is Josh Bignell.
Hello, Nicholas, and hello, fans.
And here we are, the pre-E3 edition of the Playgasm podcast. We're going to have a little, what have you been doing? What have you been up to? A little top 5 console game action, the video game challenge, and then our E3 predictions, what we'd like to see, the run through the entire show, break it down. So, Josh, what's been going on?
Not too much. We haven't done a podcast for a long, long time, so both of us should have been playing a lot of stuff and having a lot go on, but I guess personally wise, I haven't had a lot going on, but I've been playing a lot of games. Super Stardust HD.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I picked that up. I'm nowhere near your score, but I've been chugging along, playing it, enjoying it.
My score is really sexy.
It is. You might as well say what it is so you can build your EP.
I think it's 169 million, which sounds awesome, but I'm sure if I checked right now, I'd probably be down to like 30th place or something like that.
Probably. People have too much time on their hands.
Yeah. That took me 3 hours to do. I didn't even realize when I was playing it, but my roommate and his friend were over, and they were basically told me that I'd been playing for 3 hours straight.
Yeah, dude, that's insane. I don't have that much free time.
I didn't think I did, but clearly I do.
It's such an addictive game, though. Once you start playing, you just can't stop.
It's really the leaderboard for me. Like, if it was just me playing by myself, that'd be one thing, but the fact that I'm trying to keep up with people that I've never met before is just like, it's a real draw. I don't know, I guess I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. My EP needs to be fed.
Yes, yeah, it does.
I feed him the souls of other gamers.
On top of that, I have been playing some Street Fighter 2 on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, I heard you had a little match with a podcast friend of ours.
Yeah, Mike from the Fanboys. I played him. It was pretty good. He's a pretty good challenge, actually. It went back and forth. I started playing again NHL 2K7 on the Xbox 360 as well. I picked that up last year, and I haven't really played it as much as I like to. So I figured I would get back into it. I really love hockey games, so what the hell, you can't go wrong.
That's not too bad. Like you, I've been playing Stardust HD a lot. It's pretty much my game of choice for pretty much everything that I'm doing right now. But aside from that, I'm planning my wedding to my crazy awesome fiance.
Your life is over.
Yeah, it's over. But at least I get to plan my death for a solid year. So we actually locked up the reception hall and the date. So all the fans of the podcast, June 22nd, yeah, we'll be broadcasting live from my wedding. No, we won't.
No, we won't.
That'd be really sweet.
Am I invited, though? Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
Don't.
That'd
That'd actually be pretty interesting.
the paint.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. That's not too bad of an idea.
I'm not going anyways.
Nah, I won't. Send me money.
Yeah, fuck you. So, is that all you've been playing, though? You haven't really been playing too many games? Nothing on the DS? I picked up Final Fantasy VI for the Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance. No. For me, it's pretty much just been Stardust. My life has really been shot to death between work and wedding planning.
You're not a gamer at all.
I'm really not. I read about it still. So I'm a gaming wannabe.
You're a pseudo gamer.
A pseudo. So you picked up, what, Final Fantasy VI for the GBA, you said?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't have a GBA anymore, but thankfully, thanks to the Nintendo DS, I can still play it.
So, what did they do? Did they update the graphics, or what?
No, it's pretty much the same. At least from where I'm at in it, it's pretty much the same. The only major difference is the sound. It's not as pure as what it was on the Super Nintendo.
That's pretty dick.
Yeah, what can you do?
Well, what was it? What Zelda game did they do that? Where they remade it, and then they brought in the sound from, like, the newer Zeldas? Was it... Shit.
On a handheld?
No, it was I want to say it was like Four Swords or something like that, where They basically took the Zelda formula, and it was exactly the same, but they updated the sounds to sound more like the Ocarina of Time Link.
I would have no idea then. I didn't play Four Swords or Minish Cap, so I probably wouldn't know.
No, it wasn't Minish Cap, but yeah, when the sound, I mean, I don't know if it's like this in Final Fantasy VI, but the moment someone tampers with the sound and you'd play in the original, it really, like, F's with the game and it messes with your head.
Yeah, I mean, either way though, it's Final Fantasy VI. I love it, so I have to play it.
Yeah, pretty sweet. So, yeah, I guess that's really all that's been going on with me since our last podcast. Wedding planning and Super Stardust.
Yeah, pretty much for me as well. It's just work and playing a bunch of games and talking to people online. But yeah.
Yeah, talking to people online, of course. Been gaffing it up my home away from home.
Loser.
Yeah. So, on to our top 5 list. Da-da-da, da-da-da. I guess I won't sing.
I say you go first.
You want me? I went first last time.
Oh, okay, I'll go first.
Don't.
Okay. We'll keep it short, hopefully. I doubt it, but we'll try.
Shorter, at least, than last time.
Shorter. Starting from my 5th game for the top 5 console of all time, or console game of all time, I'll go with Adventure for the Atari 2600.
Old.
Yeah, very old. It's older than I am, and it's older, obviously, then it's older than you are. You didn't even know it existed.
Nope.
I used to play this a lot when I was a kid. I loved the Atari 2600. It had so many great games, but this is one that I spent the most time with, running away from the so-called ducks, aka dragons.
It's a duck.
No, it's a dragon.
It definitely looked like a duck.
You look like a duck.
I look like a lot of things. A duck is not one of them.
Oh. Well, and trying to keep my things away from the stupid black bat that used to come up and try to steal your sword or whatever you had with you at the time and dropping it in a random spot in the map. But that game is really what got me involved in, like, adventure-based games. Even though there really wasn't much adventure or action to it, it was just
There was
really
no adventure in the game called Adventure?
No, there really wasn't. I mean, all you really did was just go around a little maze and try to avoid the dragons or stab them in the throat with your little spear, but I wouldn't say there was a whole lot of adventure in Adventure.
I watched a video on YouTube of the game when I saw it on your list, and all you are is like a little square, right? So, how do you stab in that game? Does like a little stick like pop out of your square or something like that?
Yeah, basically, like wherever there's a spear on the so-called ground, and wherever you touch it with your square is where it will be, like, where you'll be holding it from. So you can, like, have it coming out of, like, where your penis would be on your little square, technically. And to stab something, all you do is basically, when it's coming for you, you just go forward a little bit until it goes into it, and then the dragon would assume the position of death.
Yeah. Leave it to you to put a penis on a square.
It could happen. My number 4 game would be NHL 2K5 for the PlayStation 2. I played this a lot online with Keith. We tried to push each other to get better as much as we could. This is the game that got me addicted to newer, I should say, hockey games. The game that I really, really, really loved for hockey was NHL 93 by EA Sports, or EA.
You didn't like Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey for the 64?
No, I didn't. Actually, I wasn't a fan of the 64 to begin with. You should know that.
The 64 console?
Yes.
Raped. Or graped.
I actually didn't even have a Nintendo 64. My brother had it, so I only played a couple of games on it.
You're such a racist.
Shut up.
So what was it about 2K5 that made it better than all the other ones?
Well, it was my first take in newer hockey games, and I think it was more the online factor that really drew me into it because, every weekend, like I said, Keith and I would get together and play it online.
That's good enough for me.
Yep. I don't need to explain myself to you. Number 3 would be Contra for the NES. I used to go over to my friend's house every day and play this before I had my own NES console, and trying to get the code to work right, or having to, reset the system and getting all pissed off because you couldn't put in the Konami code correctly. This game was just great. I'm super excited for Contra 4.
I don't know what to think about that. I'm much more of a Contra 3 fan myself. The Alien Wars, that game is just great.
See, I didn't even play Contra 3. I was a fan of Contra 2 Contra 2 and Contra. I tried Super C, but I didn't really get into it too much.
You didn't play 3 at all, though?
Mm-mm.
You should either pick it up on the Virtual Console or download it or something.
Yeah, I probably should, but I don't really have time for things that you recommend.
The game only is 2 hours long. Not even. No, there's no way it's 2 hours long. It's probably like an hour and a half.
Contra itself was really short.
Yeah, it's just because you always die all the time that makes it long.
Yeah, well, I mean, the game itself was really short, but it was kind of difficult. I mean, unless you played it without the Konami code, it was really a bastard. You only had 3 lives.
Yep, same thing with the Contra 3 version. People usually ended up upping their lives. You can increase the number of continues that you get.
Oh, I'll definitely have to try that then. My number 2 game was Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo. Obviously, I said that I'm playing it for the Game Boy Advance now, but I spent more time watching people play this game than actually playing it myself. I didn't have a Super Nintendo when this came out, and my friend got it on the day that it was released, and I would sit there watching him for hours playing this game, and then I would eventually pass out, wake up, and he was still playing it. It was crazy, but I absolutely fell in love with this game just by watching somebody else play it, and when I finally got my own hands on it, I just even more fell in love with it. The music, the graphic style they used, the characters, like Kefka, he was an absolute nutball, but I loved this game.
Well, I mean, just to be clear, this is what most people would probably refer to as Final Fantasy III, right?
Yeah, the United States version of it was Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo, and in Japan, it was Final Fantasy VI, and obviously now it's Final Fantasy VI here on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. I never played this game through, but like you, I went over a friend's house, and I actually watched him play. And I just remember he'd always be this guy that would, or not be him, but he'd always do this chainsaw move that I always thought was pretty funny.
With King Edgar.
Yeah, I guess. I always thought that looked pretty cool. I never actually buckled down and played it. My experience was more, I played Mystic Quest Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy II, but for whatever reason, I never really got into 3.
You really need to go and play this game. I would say, to me, this was the turning point in Final Fantasy that made me love the series.
Yeah, definitely looks like I need to check it out, but I'll check it out as soon as you check out Contra 3.
Well, I guess you know we'd be checking it out then. My number 1 pick would be Mega Man 3 for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I love every Mega Man game on the NES. Mega Man 1 was such a great game. Mega Man 2 was a lot harder, and I loved it as well. But Mega Man 3, the introduction of Proto Man and all those, you could, slide across the screen and all that. This game was just, I loved it so much. And the music, every Mega Man game has such great music to it. I'm obviously such a fan of video game music that, well, now we have Mega Man as our intro to the podcast because I love it.
Yep. I mean, that song just is awesome. Mega Man music is probably one of the most mixed music online for video games because they all have that electronic feel to them. They were already so catchy as it was that, mixing them just seemed natural.
Yeah, I like Final Fantasy VI or 3. I spent so much time watching my friend play this because, again, I didn't have a NES at the time, and I was always over his house, and he was always playing it.
It's just a really good game. I mean, I never got into them until the Mega Man X series for the Super Nintendo, but I would imagine it's probably a lot like that, minus the, I know the graphical style was different, but I'd imagine the playstyle is probably similar to that, right?
I have no idea. I was never a big fan of the Mega Man X series. I was always the original one, which I wish they would go back and continue where they left off. They did go back and remake Mega Man 1 as Mega Man Powered Up for the PlayStation Portable, where they enhanced the graphics and made a level editor where you can create your own levels and upload them online for people to download, which was a really cool feature.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about Powered Up, so I imagine all the people that own it are probably pretty happy with that one.
Yep. So, what's your list, Nick? Let's hear it.
Alright, so my list goes, and I guess, it's not exactly newer, but I have a newer system in there, not like the Wii or anything. I don't know. So my number 5 one is actually a game that I initially hated to death when I played it. I got an hour through it and I just gave up. I wrote the game off. And then I eventually ended up coming back to it and realized what a true gem that the game really was. And the game I'm referring to is Metroid Prime for the GameCube. So the game is just, it takes the Super Metroid formula of exploration and item gathering, and then further exploration through those new items that you gather. It would take that formula and applied it to the 3D world. And the way it did it was just perfect. I mean, it's a perfect transition from 2D to 3D. Exact same play style, just it takes the first-person mode, but the controls, you don't feel like you're playing a first-person shooter, really. It's just a great exploration/shooter type game. It's really just a great, great, great sequel to Super Metroid.
Now, I've never been a fan of the Metroid series, but quick question for you. Did you ever fap it to Samus?
No. I probably should, though. Now that you mention it, I need to start building up a little library of her pictures and fap to that. Just because it'd be weird, though. You almost feel like you're almost gay just because you thought it was a guy at first, and now you know it's a chick.
Wait,
I don't know.
How does that make you almost gay? Did you, have an attraction to Samus when you thought it was a guy? Do you have... never mind.
No comment.
Yeah.
Next game.
Did you like Metroid Prime Echoes? Because, like I said, I wasn't a fan of either... any Metroid to begin with, actually. So, what was your take on Echoes, though?
I actually never played Echoes. Never. It's just, everyone had said that basically the Dark World aspect of it kind of messed up the flow, and it just added a lot of needless exploration. I mean, Metroid Prime in and of itself is a very exploration-heavy type game, where you're going to be doing a lot of backtracking, you're going to be in a lot of really open environments, but the Dark World aspect apparently just added, double the environment, and it just was too much for some people. And I can only imagine that I'd get kind of frustrated with it. I can't really say if I would or not, but I have never actually given the game a fair shake yet.
Well, what's your next game, Nick?
Alright, so moving on will take me to SSX3 for the PlayStation 2. The greatest snowboarding game that I have ever played. And I love me some snowboarding games. Starting all the way back with Cool Borders 2 for the PlayStation 1, I was playing that game, and what just catches me about those games is the over-the-top tricks and the smoothness of, the riding. I mean, Cool Borders wasn't exactly smooth, but the tricks in that game were always just retarded, that you could spin, 50,000 times before you landed, because you could charge it up. And SSX was just the embodiment of over-the-top tricks and really smooth, gameplay. Did you ever play SSX at all, or no?
I rented SSX3, and then I also rented Tricky, which actually came before 3. I actually never really got a chance to play Tricky because I couldn't get my brother away from it. He loved that game so much that by the time I finally got to play it, I had to take it back. And I was afraid to rent it again because I knew that he would keep playing it like a little faggot.
Well, the game is just that good. I can fully understand why your brother would want to play that game.
I do remember SSX3. I remember it looked really good, but I don't really remember too much about it. I'm not a huge fan of snowboarding games, but I should probably go back and try it. I think I actually still have a copy of it.
Definitely give it a check. It's really, really great. It's just a game that, now that I'm good at it, much like the Tony Hawk games, you can just sit down and, really impress people if they look at it. And it's just really fun anyways. So moving on from then, I will go to my next game, Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1. The greatest RPG of all time in my mind. It's the greatest rendition of the Final Fantasy series to me, just because I played it when I was younger, so I was a lot more impressionable back then. But the game's story was great, the characters were great, the gameplay elements of, getting the summons, gathering materia was really great. The amount of stuff you could do in the world and the golden saucer was just great. I mean, everything was great. If I had to sum it up in one word, it would be great.
Yeah, this one game, though, has a lot of mixed results. A lot of people love it, and a lot of people say it's way overrated. Final Fantasy 8 and 9 are better and all that. Personally, I love Final Fantasy 7 as well. I don't think that it's as good as 6. I don't know. It's a debate, but 7 itself had such a great storyline to it. The whole Ares is dead thing.
Spoiler.
Yeah, she died. Oh no.
But you can bring her back.
No.
If you... No.
No.
I wanted to.
No. Well, I guess no. She's dead.
Fuck. I'd fap to that. I have to start fapping to these people.
You have too much time on your hands.
I need to fap to Chun-Li, Samus.
So, moving on. What is your number 2 pick?
Wasn't done with my fap list, but okay. I could probably fap to someone in this next game too.
No.
So my next game is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And I could probably fap to Zelda. Twilight Princess Zelda is pretty good.
No more fapping.
I'm gonna fap. So, what game? Link to the Past was the greatest Zelda game. It executes the Zelda formula perfectly in a nice little spritey world that still looks good when you go back and play it. And the world is fun. You know, it's long enough to keep you interested. There's plenty of exploration to do. I think, to me, it just hits that Zelda formula just really well. And it makes it a timeless Zelda game that you can always go back and play.
You know, to me though, I was always more of a fan of Legend of Zelda 2.
That game was just such an offshoot, though. I mean, a side-scrolling Zelda game was...
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. I guess I'm one of the people who prefer it. I guess. I know that I really love the original one. I liked A Link to the Past, and I liked Ocarina of Time. But to me, I really, really got into the second one, more so than the other ones.
Well, I know a lot of people, like fans of the Zelda series, are always about Ocarina of Time, and everyone usually in the game industry says Ocarina of Time is the greatest video game of all time. And while I agree that that game was extremely great, it lacks the go back and play it in 5 years and see how good it is type value. I mean, replaying that game now, the graphics really do look like out of place and old.
Yeah.
It really detriments the experience, to me at least.
It didn't age that well at all.
No.
But the, A Link to the Past, with its art style, it aged really well. Like, I think I can go back and play that at any point. And I might pick it up on Virtual Console, but that game is really gorgeous and again had great music to it.
Yep, another game that the music was just always top notch. Which is really a letdown, actually, that Twilight Princess had a lot of MIDI stuff and not so much fully orchestrated stuff.
That's just the way Nintendo is.
Yeah. Well, we'll see with the next one. E3, maybe? No? We'll see.
Yeah.
So moving on to my number 1 pick, which is Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh my god.
The greatest fighting game of all time.
No way, Street Fighter.
See, it's just, the fighting in it is so different that it appeals to me in that level that it's not deep in terms of the amount of moves you can do, but it is deep in the terms of the stuff you can do with the items falling into the world, the way the worlds are always constantly changing, just the vast number of characters that you can be, and all the little nuances in the game that most people probably don't even realize. It's just, that game has everything that caters to, I think, a casual audience in terms of the fan service, where you can play anyone from Jigglypuff to, all the way up to Solid Snake nowadays. But it gives you all those Nintendo franchise characters that you love, and it puts them in a fighting type of game that appeals to hardcore people. So I think it caters to everybody, and it definitely catered to me.
Right. I mean, I never played the one for the N64, and come the ending life of the GameCube, I finally picked up Melee, and I started getting into it, and I really enjoyed it. It is a great fighter. I'm definitely looking forward to Brawl, so I hope that they continue with what they've been doing.
Yeah, I could easily see Brawl taking the top spot if it lives up to the expectations. It definitely could get there.
So I guess we should announce Keith's list, even though he isn't with us. Rest in peace. We love you.
Yeah. So I guess we should probably just breeze through it and not, speak to them so much.
No, we're not even going to give him any time. Screw Keith. He should have been here.
Rest in peace, though.
Yeah, rest in peace. His number 5 pick was We Love Katamari. His number 4 was SSX 3.
Good pick.
Yeah. Number 3 was Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal.
I think you just wanted to have that in there for the pun.
Yes. Number 2 was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Surprising.
Yeah, well.
Just you'd think you'd put the other GTA in there, like Vice City or 3, something like that, since that was really just a recreation of that formula.
I think they're all recreations of the same formula, but his number one pick, which is really no surprise, is Need for Speed Most Wanted, as he really, really, really loves racing games.
Yep. So that was Keith's list, and that rounds out our top 5 for console games. Again, top 5 is something that we're trying to do every episode, so next week, or whenever, you can look forward to top 5 handheld games, where we will most likely talk about how great Tetris is and any other games.
But we would love to hear what your top 5 console games of all time would be, so join us on the forums and let us know.
You can find our forums at www.playgasm.com/forum. And a cool thing you can do, actually, is if you misspell forum and you say forums with a Z, you'll get a little surprise. You should check it out.
Oh, God, I gotta remove that.
Nope, you leave it in, and you let them learn. Lessons. Alright, so we will move on to our video game challenge. We're going to play a little piece of video game music for you, and if you think you know what it is, go on our forums and let us know. Maybe we'll give you something. Probably you'll get your name mentioned.
We really should consider doing like a prize or something, like maybe a free game or a gift certificate or, I don't know, something. That's something I guess that we'll have to look into in the future.
We'll probably set like a benchmark, like if we get 70 people guessing or something like that, then we'll do something.
So with our listeners, we'll probably get like 1.
That's right. So you can make a difference. So here it is, our video game challenge. And there you have it, our video game challenge. Our answer to last week's video game music challenge was?
It was Haunted by Typo Negative, technically, for Descent 2 for the PC. There was like a different version of it that the company used for the game, but it's based off of Haunted by Typo Negative on their October Rust album. And it was guessed by our friend Chris, again, who's gotten like 2 in a row.
So, what does he get, a fabulous prize?
No.
He
gets, nothing, actually.
Well, he gets some lovin'. I will email him hot naked pictures of
You.
Samus that I will draw.
Oh, well, I want those too, actually, then.
My stick figures will turn you on. So, moving on to the big topic that hits gamers every time around this time. E3, the big video game show of our age.
Woo!
Don't get too excited. So this year, there's some really big changes. It's not all in one building. It's kind of scattered throughout. The location's different. You know, it's supposed to be a very different feel. But in the end, I imagine that they're going to treat it still the same as the big show, where we're going to hear lots of news. It's going to be a very exciting time for video games. That's it. Just a.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't really expect a whole lot of E3 this year. With Microsoft taking the big loss with the $1 billion loss on the warranty issue, I don't expect a whole lot of them.
All right. So speaking of Microsoft, since they are going first, anyways, what do you see them like bringing out? Like, what are they going to bring to the table this year? Do you think?
Well, obviously, you can expect a lot of Halo 3. That is their flagship game, so I think that they're going to have a lot of trailers on it and some more information and probably some more playable demos as they have their beta and everybody's already tried it out. So I think that Halo 3 is going to be their big showing and probably Halo Wars as well. But beyond that, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot.
Do you really think they're going to have that much for Halo 3, though? I can see them maybe having one really big trailer and then maybe a single-player playable. I mean, we haven't seen anything from single-player aside from, like, a screenshot or two. And maybe that vid doc that they put out had a little bit in there.
Yeah,
for the most part, they've been dark on it.
I don't really know what to expect, but I think that they're going to, at least show a lot of Halo 3 because like I said, that is their flagship game, so they do have to show a lot of it, and that is going to be like their big holiday seller, because I don't think that they really have a whole hell of a lot to show off. At least anything that they've led on to.
Yeah, Halo 3 seems to me like it could either be really big at the show or it can just be something that you kind of brush off to the side. I mean, it seems to be underwhelming people. Not that they don't expect the game to be good, and it's obviously going to sell millions, but after we all have played the multiplayer demo, the single-player stuff looks pretty solid, based on the screenshot or two that we have. I'm not sure what to expect of the game right now, and I really need something to blow my socks off again, because I kind of had the wind taken out of my sails when I got to play the beta.
I think one thing that they're going to focus on is the graphics of it. A lot of people left the beta a little unsatisfied. They thought it looked a lot like Halo 2 with a few minor upgrades to it.
It did. I mean, that game shouted Halo 2 to me
well,
when I played it.
It did, but you also have to remember, the online is not going to look as good as the single player because they have to tone it down a little bit for the online play of it, or else you'll have a lot of people having problems with latency and all that. And on top of that, it was a beta. You have to remember, it was a beta, so it's not going to look as good as it did in the final version. At least I hope it doesn't, but yeah. Who knows?
So yeah, Halo 3 is definitely going to make a showing. So something else that's going to be coming out, who knows when, Metal Gear 4. I think that's another game that needs to come out strong for the 360 crowd.
I don't think that you're going to see that.
Announced. You don't think so?
No, I really don't think so. I think that, or at least I hope, I can't really say I know or anything else, but I hope that Metal Gear Solid 4 stays on the PlayStation 3 side, and I think it will, because remember, Kojima said that originally that PlayStation 3 is the console that they can make it for, but then some people who work with him said that, no, we can make it for any console, it really shouldn't matter. So, I don't know. If anything, I think Metal Gear Solid 4 will end up as a timed release on the PlayStation 3 and then later on the 360, but I really don't expect too much out of that on the Microsoft camp.
I mean, I fully think that this game probably will come to the 360, and I think if Peter Moore came out on the stage, if he had to show a tattoo on his arm, I think it would be Metal Gear 4.
No.
I think that announcement would rock the show. I mean, everyone kind of expects it, but to have it formalized and officially stated.
We all know what Peter Moore is going to come out with tattoo. It's going to be a Things Break tattoo, because just like all the NeoGaf people said, Things Break, he's going to come out with that tattooed on his arm.
He's going to, physically implant 3 LEDs in his arm?
Yep, and he's going to have Things Break tattooed right above it.
That'd be pretty win, actually. That would actually be really win. He needs to do that. Come out with 3 red lights, tattooed inside his arm, and have him blink.
And a lot of people were assuming that Microsoft is going to have a price drop as a preemptive strike to the Sony camp.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, I kind of doubt that right now. I mean, with the $1 billion loss that they're having with the warranty issue, I don't really think that we're going to see a price drop on the 360 now. But it is Microsoft, and they love to bleed money, so I really don't know what to expect, but I'm going to assume that we're not going to see a price drop.
I think if we did see some kind of price shifting, maybe we could see the Elite take the price of the premium system. The premium could take the price of the core system, and the core system could drop. Something like that.
But that technically is a price drop, though.
Yeah, that would be a price drop, but it's still keeping the same pricing options. I don't know.
Either way,
if they're gonna do something. I don't think it's gonna be necessarily major.
Well, either way, if they do anything with the pricing, a lot of people are going to assume that that's going to be a preemptive strike to the rumored Sony price drop on the PlayStation 3.
All right. I think, again, going to Microsoft's side, since we're just hitting on that one, I think I could see them doing an entire conference, ending it with, a lot of dramatic music with text, and then in the end it would be a cog symbol with a 2 hanging off of it, announcing Gears of War 2 for an 2009 title.
Yeah, I have no idea about this one. I think that we can expect to see Gears of War for the PC side, but for Gears of War 2, I don't know. Who knows?
I could see them probably building it on the Unreal 3 engine. I mean, they seem to have done really great stuff with it, and I imagine they could probably squeeze more out of it if they tried.
Well, yeah, it is their engine. They know it the best.
So I could see them building it on the same engine, being probably already in production, and definitely making a showing. I don't know if they would show any actual gameplay footage, but I could definitely see it being announced at the show.
I'd like to see it, but yeah, it's a kind of a rumor at this point.
So directly after the Microsoft conference is a special secret Killzone 2 showing for some ungodly amount of hours. And I think that's when we're going to find out if this Killzone 2 is currently in the state of matching the CG trailer or completely falling short of it.
I think Sony has something to prove with Killzone 2 because after GDC, if you remember, they took everybody back and showed them Killzone 2, showing the usage of PlayStation Edge, that new development tool that they came up with Insomniac Games and a couple others. And a lot of people left a little unimpressed with the game of how it looked. So I think that they feel, or they probably do have something to prove, and hopefully they increase the graphical style because everybody's going to be like, oh, this doesn't look like a CG trailer. So obviously they couldn't pull it off. A lot like what people used to do with MotorStorm, actually.
I think definitely that game is, no matter what it looks like, is going to be a letdown because that CG trailer was just so out of control when we all looked at it. I mean, in comparison now, you have Call of Duty 4 footage, which I think kind of hits on that same feel where the animations look really crisp, there's a lot going on in the environments. I think that's kind of showing you that maybe it is possible to create something like that. So I'm optimistic that something can show up that'll look similar, close to, sort of, kind of like that CG trailer that they showed.
Right, I think Killzone 2, it could either make or break Sony's E3 showing. Even though it's private, you know the information's going to get out there and people are going to talk about it. So I think it can either make or break it for them. So hopefully it's up to snuff like everybody wants it to be.
Yeah, I think that could be a game of the show if it actually lives up to the expectations that it set. But we'll see. So on top of that, we mentioned the rumored price cut, which I think is all but confirmed at this point. I mean, there's already been a couple game flyers that have announced it, and it's been leaked on the internet.
Yeah, I think Target right now is actually already selling PlayStation 3s for the $100 reduction in price, and Circuit City is supposed to next week. That has to be probably the worst kept secret ever. You know, kind of like PlayStation Home. But if they are dropping the price, I think right now they should actually just come out and say it. Screw it. I mean, it's already out there. People are already expecting it, so you might as well come out with it. Just stop denying it.
I mean, how bad does it suck to be Sony that when they initially were about to announce Home, that got leaked onto the internet and they had to sit there and deny it, and now it looks like this would have been their next big announcement, a price cut, and then that got leaked onto the internet. So it's like they can't win with making their announcements.
Yeah, they're definitely not as quiet as like Nintendo is. Nintendo has always been really quiet with the media, and nothing really gets released unless they want it to, but it seems in Sony's case they just can't keep anything quiet.
Yep. Definitely out of control. So another thing that definitely is going to make a showing at some levels got to be Metal Gear 4. So we know it's definitely on that system. So I think it's probably going to be another trailer. I don't see it being anything playable.
I think they did announce that they are going to have a updated or brand new trailer for the game itself, and I personally am really, really wanting this game. I want to see the trailer. I want to see what they've done with it. So they have to show something. I think this is a key game for the PlayStation 3, and they really need to start beating it into everybody's head.
It'll definitely get shown. What it gets shown as, I think, will be something. I think it kind of has to prove itself in terms of what it's going to look like. We've seen a lot of video, but I don't know if we've seen anything that's probably representative gameplay. There's been a couple hints of gameplay between, like, maybe him rolling around and laying on his back and shooting some people, but we don't know how it's going to look with, like, the HUD in there, or if it's going to have a HUD. You know, it's really open-ended in terms of what that game is going to play like.
This is definitely a key game for Sony, and they really need to show it off, and they need to start letting people know, if it is at all, this is a PlayStation 3 exclusive, because after the last video they came out with, when the PlayStation 3 logo was removed from the credits, a lot of people are suspecting that it is coming out on the 360.
I definitely think it probably will get announced, but we'll see. It's not worth arguing about until it actually happens. So is there any other things that you think are going to really show up and go crazy?
I think they're going to show home a lot because, remember, July is the month that they're supposed to go into the open beta for home, and I think that they're going to really show it off and show some of the new features. I expect to see a lot from Little Big Planet as well because a lot of people are starting to talk about that game again. From some of the 1UP people got to play it. I think it was Shane, and they said that they really enjoyed it, and I personally can't wait to see what they do with the online community of it, with people creating their own levels and sharing them. It's just going to be a blast. I really hope that they show a lot of this game.
I think, yeah, I mean, what Sony's doing with Home and Little Big Planet is just really cool with the user-generated content. I could easily see yourself being bored, jumping on your PlayStation and saying, I'll just walk around at home and putz around and see what's going on, or play the newest Little Big Planet level. It's just really cool that they're kind of hitting towards that area.
Another thing I'm changing it from Little Big Planet to Warhawk.
Go for it.
Okay. Another thing I can't wait to see from is Warhawk. They just announced the retail price of it. It's going to be $59.99 with the game on a Blu-ray disc plus a Bluetooth headset. I cannot wait to see this game. I can't wait for it to be released. I got screwed out of the beta, but I cannot wait for it.
Did they officially state that it's not going to be downloadable?
No, it is going to be downloadable. They haven't announced the price for that yet. A lot of people are suspecting it's going to be around $30 because you're not getting the headset. And I hope that's true because this is definitely the type of game where if you are going to download it, it should be cheaper than what it is in the retail one. Microsoft should take note because they kind of screwed over Shadowrun.
Well, I guess we'll end up seeing what it officially gets priced at. But it is kind of cool how it comes with the Bluetooth headset. I got into the beta and that game was really, really, really fun. I think it needed to work out some kinks, but again, it was a beta, so I'm sure that'll all get worked out in the end. Can't get into specifics, but it was cool.
Bastard.
So I think that about wraps up our Sony side, right? Do you have anything else that you really want to talk about in them, or?
No, besides the price drop and all of that, I think pretty much Sony's covered.
Yep. So moving on to the other guy, the big bully in the group nowadays, or the little bully, the duct tape bully, whichever.
Ooh.
Nintendo. Which, I don't think there's too much hype for these guys going into E3. I think everyone's kind of expecting them to show up and kind of tell us what we already know.
Yeah, I think Nintendo, they've kept everything so quiet, so you really don't know what's coming up with them. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see from them is probably WiiWare, which I hope we see a lot of because it has a lot of potential. I think the biggest downfall with WiiWare, though, is going to be the size of the content you're downloading and the lack of space on the Wii. And they've already announced that they're not going to be releasing a attachable hard drive to it, so I think that can really end up crippling it. But I hope at E3 they can announce some possible solution to that.
WiiWare, for those people that aren't aware, is the downloadable games section where it's really going to be more along the lines of Xbox Live Arcade or PlayStation Network type games. Like little games. And Nintendo just kind of recently announced that they're going to be pursuing this as well, which I think is great because I think this will give developers an opportunity to really explore things with the Wiimote that they can do without exactly having to invest, whatever umpteen $1 million that you usually have to invest to make a game. You can just kind of put out like a silly little project that might, really grab some gamers with the game, the controls, how you handle different things with the Wiimote. I think it's definitely something that the Wii's needed. But again, like you said, the space is going to be a huge issue.
Yeah, with that, I think the next biggest thing that Nintendo could probably show off is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I think that's going to be their pinnacle game this year. As last year, everybody's already seen Super Mario Galaxy. They had a playable demo last year, and a bunch of people got their hands on it. But I think Brawl, there's so many unanswered questions with it. The biggest one of all is the online, because they announced it, but haven't really talked about it since. So, now that they removed it, or they announced that Metroid is not going to have online on the Wii, it leaves me being suspicious that Brawl is not going to have it as well.
Yeah, they said it a long time ago, and again, they've gone radio silence on this whole thing. I think they already announced that it's not going to be playable at the show, so that really sucks. But at minimum, I'm expecting them to have a trailer with, 2 new characters, and it's like 5 minutes long, and all that other kind of stuff. I expect them to come out with something that makes me want to keep looking for this game. I mean, I don't really need any more hype for this game, but I'd really appreciate it if they threw us a bone here and gave us something to chew on.
Yeah, they definitely need to start coming out with something, because I think Smash Brothers this year can make or break the Wii for a lot of people, like myself included. I got that console mainly for that game, because I love Smash Brothers now, and I want to play it with all my friends. And there's really nothing else for the Wii that has me as intrigued as that. I mean, I think the only thing that can really pull me in would be like a Mario Kart for the Wii, and again, I hope that would have online play.
And no snaking.
And no snaking. Could you imagine snaking with the Wiimote though? You gotta like hold in a button and like move the Wiimote up and down, up and down, up and down. I don't know.
You'd be like jerking off your Wiimote as you're turning around corners.
Yeah, like, that would be really weird.
That'd be really sexy.
You'd like it.
We mentioned just Mario Kart, but they haven't mentioned Mario Kart, they haven't mentioned Animal Crossings, they haven't mentioned Nintendogs, they haven't mentioned Wii Sports 2, but I imagine we all expect these games to show up. Do you think any of these games are going to make a showing at this E3? Is this where they're going to bring something to light?
I would love to see a Mario Kart for the Wii. I think it's only a matter of time before you see an Animal Crossing for the Wii. I don't really think we're going to see it at E3. Who knows? I think there's a lot of other games that people would want from Nintendo, like Pikmin. So who really knows what we're going to see from them? Like I said, Nintendo's a really secret company when it comes to the media, and they don't really let a lot out unless they actually want you to know about it, or when it's the perfect time for them to tell everybody.
And that's the biggest shame. I mean, I'm such a big Nintendo fan, and I really like what they do with games nowadays, and not being fed any kind of media or news is really frustrating, especially when there's a big gaming slump. It's just, I want to be excited about something, but instead of being excited for Nintendo stuff, I end up looking somewhere else. It just kind of sucks, but I'm excited. I want them to prove me wrong, but I really don't know if they're going to come out with this E3 with anything huge.
No, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, is there anything really specific from any of these companies that you really want to see from E3, like anything on 360, PS3, or specifically Wii?
I want to see more Grand Theft Auto 4 stuff, actually. I mean, we've been getting hit with the teaser trailer here or there, but I'd really like them to buckle down and explain exactly what they plan on doing with that game. It seems like it's kind of a offshoot from what they usually do. More of a very serious story and not so much the funny, happy stuff that we're used to. I mean, I guess we'll end up finding out. But that game's kind of a mystery to me, and I definitely want to find out what that's all about. But in terms of this E3, I think what I'm really looking forward to for Microsoft, I'm looking for Halo single player and whether or not it lives up to expectations. On the Sony side, I'm looking for Killzone 2 and whether or not that lives up to the expectations. And on the Nintendo side, it's gotta be Brawl. I gotta be looking forward to new characters, new trailer, being hit with news that it's online. I need something. So that's definitely what I'm looking the most forward to for that E3.
Right. I think for me, on the Microsoft side, actually I'll put the Sony side in this too. I want to know what Capcom is up to with Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, or whatever the hell that long name is.
Yeah, the 10,000 letter game.
Right. I want to see a little bit more of it rather than a few screenshots here and there. And I want people who are bitching about Guile not having enough muscles to shut the fuck up and, I don't know, shut the fuck up.
I think everyone's just pissed that we haven't gotten the super high-res Chun-Li screens that we can start fapping to them yet.
Again with the fapping. But,
did you see the Bukkake picture that they had for her?
I'm moving on to,
Dude, they released one screen. It's the countdown, when you lose, and it's counting down from 9 to 0. They released just that of her, animated in black and white, and she's got little cum stains all over her, and she's panting.
So for Microsoft, I'm hoping to see maybe yeah, that's right. I cut you off.
So awesome.
I want to see maybe another Viva Pinata. I haven't really heard much that Rare is up to, so I hope that they're doing something with that series, because I kind of like the original Viva Pinata.
Are you looking for Viva Pinata specifically, or another Rare game that they're just going to do? like maybe a banjo or something like that.
Specifically Viva Pinata.
I don't know. That game, I don't know if that game can come out and really impress people anymore. I think they had a good shot with the first one. I mean, they had a TV show, and it seemed to hit really well with critics, but just never seemed to take off on sale.
I don't know. I think that's something I would like to see out of them. I mean, on the Microsoft side, there really isn't much that I'm too interested in right now. You know, I'm not a big Halo fan. I really wasn't a huge Gears fan. But I don't know. On the Sony side, obviously, you know, Uncharted. I want to see a lot more of Eye of Judgment. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered with that.
I forgot about that game completely, yeah. That game was going to make or break the iToy, I think. I mean, that's really the only game that they've mentioned and the only game I'd be interested in as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that game, it looks really cool. Graphically, it's really cool. I think it uses the iToy really well. Have you heard anything if it has online or anything like that? I think it does.
I would hope so. I mean, really, if that game doesn't have online, it's doomed for failure. I can't imagine people are going to be finding tons of people to come over and play this thing.
I guess the biggest question that I have with that game, I think I talked to you about this before, is I wonder how they're going to stop cheating, you know, with people putting other cards under there or fabricating their own cards or whatever. I just don't know how they're going to solve that problem.
That'll be the biggest question if it goes online, which I hope it does. But how do you stop someone from just printing a card off the internet and then putting it down in front of their system? Or not playing by the rules and swiping a card from the middle of their deck or something like that? It's going to be a huge problem, and I'm not really sure how or if they can even moderate it.
I think if this game does have online, it's going to be more of a I'll only play it with my friends type thing.
Yeah, definitely make sure they're on your friends list and only play with them. Otherwise, you're more than likely just going to end up wasting your time and someone will just pull a card on you.
I think from the Nintendo side, like you, the only thing I'm really wanting to see much from is Brawl, because there are a lot of questions I have about it. With their daily updates, it's nice and all, but like I said, the online is the biggest issue for me that I want answered. So, I mean, Nintendo, there's really not many things I want for the Wii. So, I don't really have high expectations for them.
Doesn't that suck though? I mean, I was all about the Wii hardcore, and I kind of even embraced the minigame thing that they went with, but it's really at the point now where I'm really sick and tired of hearing about minigames, and I want my hardcore games again. I want Zelda 2, and I want my Smash and Galaxies and Metroid. Like, those are the only games I'm looking forward to now.
It does really suck, because like you, I really embraced the Wii. I remember both of us were really, really psyched about it, and both of us got them on the launch day. But since then, you know, I played some Zelda, I played some Wii Sports and Elebits and all that, but beyond that, I have not touched my Wii.
Oh, yes, you have. Chun-Li, animated, HD.
But anyways,
Bukaki.
I think with this E3, unlike last year,
Eyes of Justice.
With this E3, unlike last year, where you know you were waiting for them to announce some stuff about the PlayStation 3 and the Nintendo Wii. This year, we already know everything going into it, so I don't really expect a whole hell of a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that this could be the last E3. I think that's a lot of bullshit and just industry people bitching. But they are industry people, and I am not, so maybe they know something I don't. But we'll end up seeing, I guess.
Well, either way, there's TGS and GDC and all the others.
That's right. And I'd much rather get info all throughout instead of just one big orgasm at the end.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind if they, just fap me a little, and then I'll just finish myself off. I'm not really sure where I'm going. I just want to make a masturbation reference.
I guess that's basically all we have.
Yeah, that'll wrap up our pre-E3 spectacular podcast.
Is there any shout-outs you want to have or give or do anything?
I would give a shout-out to my fiancée, just because we've been doing a lot of planning for our wedding, and she actually listened to the podcast not too long ago. Kind of embarrassing, but kind of cool at the same time.
And what'd you think about it?
I think she thinks that we're way more important than we really are. She hears our, intro, and she hears us talking, and she thinks we're out of control.
Wait until she hears you talking about fapping all the time.
And Bukaki Chun-Li. And if I had to throw another shout out there, I'd throw it out to the Gaff guys. You guys were pretty rough on us when our first podcast came out, but I took the criticism and tried to improve upon things. I think we all tried to improve upon things. So hopefully we can put out a better product for you guys. And I always love just messing around on the forums. It's awesome.
For myself, I would like to give a shout out to the Fanboys Lunchcast and the Player One podcast. Those guys have been pretty supportive of us, and I really enjoy their work and can't wait for more stuff from them. And I would love to give a shout out to Keith, who is not with us this episode, actually, if you haven't noticed.
We can summon him from the grave and have a little ceremony and maybe get him to talk to us.
Yeah, well, Keith, you better be here next time.
Or we'll kill you.
Alright, that's all we have for this episode. Thank you for listening. Join us at playgasm.com/forum. Thank you.
And we are out.
Later.
Peace.